Bullies push the new kid. Fatal mistake. He's an unstoppable fighter. Logan Pierce adjusted the frayed strap of his backpack as he stood in front of Jefferson High. 15 years old and freshly moved from a quiet mountain town in Colorado to the bustling heart of Phoenix. Everything about the city felt loud, fast, and unfamiliar. The massive brick building in front of him loomed like a monument to everything he didn't understand. He inhaled slowly, trying to untangle the knot forming deep in his stomach. At first glance, Logan didn't look like someone who belonged in the chaos of a big urban school. He was lean, a bit on the short side, with messy, dark brown hair and oversized glasses that constantly slid down his nose. His clothes were plain, his voice quiet, and his eyes carried the kind of depth that made you think he was always halfway through a conversation with himself. No one here could have guessed that hidden beneath that gentle frame was a state-level kickboxing champion. His father, a former martial arts coach who'd once trained cadets in Denver, had started teaching him when he was just 7. More than punches or footwork, what his father had drilled into him was simple, unshakable. Martial arts aren't for showing off, Logan. They're for protecting, period. Logan had never needed to use his skills outside a training mat. In his old town, people knew who he was. They respected his father. He was never tested. But Phoenix was different. The school hallways echoed with slammed lockers and voices that never lowered. It felt like a concrete jungle where the loudest, fastest, and meanest thrived. Here, being new didn't just make you invisible, it made you a target. So his plan was simple. Don't stand out, don't draw attention, get through the year. But the universe rarely listens to plans like that. It was only his second break of the day when everything started unraveling. Logan had taken a wrong turn while trying to find the biology lab. He rounded a corner sharply and collided into what felt like a moving wall. He stumbled back. The other guy didn't even flinch. "Watch it, Four Eyes," the guy snapped, arms crossing over his broad chest. Logan looked up. Blake Carver, star quarterback. Son of a local real estate mogul, known for his sharp tongue and sharper smirk. Standing behind him were his ever-present sidekicks, Tyler Knox, thin and twitchy with eyes that never stopped scanning, and Jared Slim McCoy, tall, bony, and constantly filming everything on his phone, like a low-budget director looking for his next viral hit. "Sorry," Logan muttered, trying to slip past. But Blake sidestepped and blocked him again. "Check this out," Blake said, turning to his crew. "New guy stutters. What's your name, tough guy?" Logan's eyes dropped to the floor. "Logan." "Logan," Blake echoed, mocking his tone. "Logie Bear. Welcome to Jefferson High, bud. We've got a few initiation rituals, right, boys?" Both Tyler and Jared nodded, grinning like hyenas. Logan swallowed hard, his hands tightening into fists inside the pocket of his hoodie. He felt the buzz of adrenaline crawling through his arms. His instincts stirred, the kind that only years of controlled training can build. But he breathed in slowly. Now wasn't the time. "I've got class," he said quietly but firmly, stepping around them. The laughter behind him followed him down the hall. The next few days were a slow-motion wreck. Shoves in the hallway, whispers and laughs trailing behind him in the cafeteria. Once, Tyler accidentally spilled an entire tray of spaghetti across Logan's hoodie. Another time, Jared stole his gym clothes and replaced them with an oversized, lost-and-found outfit that looked like it came from a clown academy. A rumor started that Logan cried during a group presentation in history. No one corrected it. No one stood up for him, except maybe Ms. Bennett, the literature teacher who caught him after class one afternoon and said, "If you ever need to talk, Logan, I'm here." He just nodded, offered a faint smile, and left. He tried avoiding the hallway behind the gym after that, but one day he cut through it in a hurry to make it to class on time. Bad idea. Well, look who showed up." Blake's voice rang out from the corner. "The silent warrior." There was no exit. Tyler snatched his backpack and dumped its contents on the concrete. Jared had already started recording. Logan stepped forward to grab his phone, but Blake snatched it away, unlocking it easily while Logan's fingerprint was still fresh. Blake swiped through the gallery, photos, trophies, him in full kickboxing gear, on the podium, hugging his dad after a state championship. Every secret Logan had tried to keep hidden was now flashing across Blake's smirking face. Logan's breath caught in his throat. He could act. He could move now, but not yet. "Give it back," he said, voice low and steady. Blake blinked, caught off guard. "What did you say?" "I said, give me my phone." There was no threat in his tone, no raised voice. But something in it made Blake pause. Just for a second, even the snickering behind him dimmed. Then Blake's smirk returned. "Or what? Gonna cry again? How about you get down on your knees and bark for it?" The laughter returned in full force. Logan stayed rooted, breathing slowly. Right as he took a step forward, a voice broke the tension. "What's going on here?" Coach Daniels. The PE teacher was walking toward them, brow furrowed. Blake slipped the phone into his pocket with practiced ease. "Nothing, Coach. Just messing around." Coach Daniels looked from him to Logan, who just shook his head quietly. "Pick up your stuff and move along. You three, I want you in my office first thing tomorrow." Then to Logan, more gently. "You all right?" Logan nodded again. No use escalating. He knew how this worked. He walked home in silence that afternoon. But the laughter echoed like it was etched into his skin. He didn't stop at the kitchen or his bedroom. He went straight to the garage, wrapped his knuckles in cloth, and started hitting the heavy bag. Hard. Again and again. Each hit was a word he hadn't said, a feeling he had swallowed, a truth buried too deep. No more. When the sweat soaked through his shirt and his hands throbbed with dull ache, he knew. He wasn't going to fight them, but he wasn't going to let them define him either. The next morning, Logan walked through the front doors of Jefferson High with a stillness that wasn't there before. Not arrogance, not defiance, just something resolute. His shoulders weren't hunched. His steps were measured, confident. He wore the same hoodie, the same old backpack, the same glasses. But everyone could feel it. Something had shifted. He didn't seek out a quiet corner in the cafeteria that day. Instead, he walked to one of the open tables in the center, set down his tray, and began to eat. Calm, unbothered. It didn't take long for someone to notice. "Mind if I sit here?" He looked up. A girl, soft, clear voice. Long, dark hair tied in a single braid. Sharp, curious eyes. She was in his world history class. Madison Reyes. They had never spoken before. Logan nodded. "Sure." She sat across from him, resting her chin on one hand. "You're walking different today." Logan gave a small, lopsided smile. "Maybe I got tired of looking down." She lowered her voice. "Everyone saw what happened yesterday. Blake's been pushing people around for years. No one does anything." "You too?" Logan asked gently. Madison hesitated, then looked away. "Sometimes. I don't like it, but fear's easier than regret, right?" Logan nodded. "Courage doesn't always mean fighting someone. Sometimes it means not running from who you are." Her eyes lingered on his face, thoughtful, but the moment was cut short. "Well, look at this." A voice rang out from across the cafeteria. Blake again, his voice loud enough to turn heads. "The quiet kid found a girlfriend." Laughter, followed by the slow approach of Tyler and Jared behind him. "Didn't think you had it in you, Logan," Blake continued. "Madison didn't take you for someone into lost causes." Madison's face reddened. She started to respond, but Logan stood before she could. Not fast, not dramatic, just steady. The cafeteria quieted, tension rising like static. "That's enough, Blake." The words weren't loud, but they cut through the noise like glass on pavement. Blake blinked, confused. "What'd you say?" "I said it's enough," Logan repeated, meeting his eyes. "You've pushed, you've mocked, you've stolen. I let it go, but not anymore." For a moment, the silence felt like it held weight. Blake's eyes narrowed. "What are you gonna do?" Throw a tray at me? Logan didn't flinch. He picked up his tray, walked to the trash, dumped the food calmly, and turned. Blake shoved him. The tray clattered to the floor. Logan barely moved. Gasps echoed through the room. After school, Blake hissed. Behind the gym. Let's see what you're really made of. Logan stared at him, expression unreadable. He didn't answer, just gave the faintest nod and walked away. The rumor spread like gasoline on dry grass. By last period, the whole school knew. Logan versus Blake after school, behind the gym. Some teachers had clearly caught wind of it too, but no one stopped it. Maybe they wanted to see what would happen. Maybe they were just tired of pretending they didn't see anything at all. When the final bell rang, Logan moved through the crowd with measured steps. No hesitation, no fear. He stopped at his locker, switched out his books for his hoodie, and made his way to the back lot. They were already there. Dozens of students had formed a loose half-circle like spectators at a gladiator pit. Phones were out. Voices murmured. Blake stood at the center, arms crossed, jaw tight. Tyler and Jared hovered behind him, and leaning against the wall a few feet away, arms folded, was Coach Daniels, watching, present, but silent. Logan walked into the center. Blake smirked. Didn't think you'd show. I said I'd be here. You can still walk away. A voice from the crowd, Madison's, called out. You don't have to do this, Logan. He glanced back at her. I'm not here to fight, he said. I'm here to draw a line. Then he placed his bag gently on the ground and turned to face Blake. You don't get to talk to me like that anymore. You don't get to scare people because you're louder, bigger, or more popular. I'm not afraid of you, not today. Blake scoffed. You're giving me a speech? This isn't a movie, man. Logan's voice stayed calm. Walk away. We both walk away now, and it ends. But Blake only laughed, stepping forward and shoving Logan hard in the chest. Logan didn't move, not an inch. The surprise on Blake's face was real. Fury took over. He swung, fast, brutal, aimed straight for Logan's head, but Logan wasn't there. With the ease of water slipping through fingers, he ducked, spun, and let Blake's momentum carry him off balance. The crowd gasped. Blake turned, blinking. What the hell was that? But there was no time for answers. He lunged again. This time, Logan stepped aside and placed a hand lightly on Blake's shoulder, guiding him forward just enough for him to trip over a bench and land hard on one knee. Laughter rose from the back of the crowd. Tyler and Jared exchanged nervous looks. Grab him, Blake barked, and then everything changed. The air shifted. Time slowed. The two boys charged forward, but they weren't ready. Tyler reached first, arms out like a bear trap. Logan dropped to one knee, spun, and swept Tyler's legs out with a graceful arc. The boy fell hard, knocking the wind out of himself. Jared hesitated, then lunged too late. Logan sidestepped and nudged him forward. Jared stumbled over Tyler's collapsed form, crashing into the dirt. The crowd erupted, not with cheers, but with stunned silence, phones still recording, eyes wide, mouths open. Blake rose, wild-eyed. You think you're better than us? I don't think I'm better than anyone, Logan said, breathing evenly. I just know who I am. Blake screamed and charged once more. Logan didn't flinch. But what came next wasn't part of any fight. Blake's hand went to his back pocket, and when he drew it forward, something shimmered in the sun. A knife. Everything stopped, even the wind. Coach Daniels took a step, but Logan held up a hand. No! Blake's hands trembled. Let's see you dodge this, tough guy. You don't want to do this. Shut up, he lunged. The blade sliced the air. Logan moved, swift, clean. He grabbed Blake's wrist with both hands, twisted gently but firmly, found the pressure point just below the thumb, and the knife clattered to the pavement. With one smooth pivot, Logan dropped Blake to the ground, pressing his arm behind his back. There was no pain, no strike, just control. Enough, Logan said, voice steady. Blake struggled. I said, enough. Blake went still. Do you understand me? Silence. Do you? Yes, came the defeated whisper. Logan let go. He picked up the knife, walked over to Coach Daniels and placed it in his open hand. Then to nothing, no cheers, until someone, it was Madison, clapped once, then another. Then the circle erupted into applause, not wild, not mocking, but real, respectful. Logan didn't bow, didn't smile. He just retrieved his bag and walked out of the circle, and Madison walked beside him. "You okay?" she asked softly. He nodded. "I'm at peace." That evening, in the quiet, wood-paneled office of Principal Whitaker, the truth unfolded in still voices and clear footage. Logan sat calmly across the desk, eyes steady, posture composed. Blake was slouched beside him, eyes lowered, fingers fidgeting with the hem of his sweatshirt. Coach Daniels stood by the door, arms crossed, while Ms. Bennett had taken a seat beside Logan, offering silent support. Jared's phone video played on the principal's computer screen. It captured everything, from the taunts to the first shove, the knife, the takedown. It wasn't just a fight, it was a story. One that made it impossible to misinterpret who was defending and who was provoking. Principal Whitaker paused the video at the moment Logan disarmed Blake. "Well," he said, rubbing his temples, "this is serious, very serious." Blake didn't speak. "Bringing a weapon to school is grounds for expulsion," the principal continued, voice hardening. "As are coordinated acts of harassment. Tyler, Jared, and you, Blake, all of you are looking at immediate suspension, potential expulsion." Then turning to Logan, "You acted with control. I saw no excessive force. But I have to ask, do you want to press charges?" Logan looked at Blake. The boy's pride had already collapsed into dust. His jaw trembled. He wasn't the same fire-breathing bully from earlier, just a kid who went too far and knew it. "No," Logan said. There was a pause. "No," the principal repeated, surprised. "You're within your rights." Logan sat a little straighter. "I don't want them expelled, not unless they choose to keep going down the same path. If they're willing to change, they should have the chance." Ms. Bennett's eyes softened with quiet admiration. Coach Daniels nodded almost imperceptibly. Principal Whitaker sighed, leaning back. "Then I hope for everyone's sake they take that chance seriously." 3 days later, Logan sat on the grass near the school's back courtyard. The sunlight filtered through the trees as he flipped through a notebook. Madison approached quietly and sat beside him. "I still can't believe you said no to expelling them," she said. He shrugged. "That wouldn't change anything. Just would have turned me into the next person they hate." She tilted her head. "That's strange." Logan smiled faintly. "Yeah, I get that a lot." Madison laughed under her breath. "I meant wise. You're kind of a mystery. I like it that way." He didn't say it to be cool. He said it because it was true. As the weeks passed, Jefferson High began to change. Not in big, dramatic ways, but in subtleties. Whispers in the halls quieted. The energy shifted. Students who had once turned a blind eye now made eye contact. Some offered Logan a nod. Others simply didn't laugh when someone else did. It wasn't a revolution, but it was a start. And then Coach Daniels approached Logan after gym one afternoon. "You ever thought about teaching what you know?" he asked. Logan blinked. "Teaching? Not just punches. Your mindset. The way you handled yourself. That's leadership. This school could use more of that." Logan hesitated. "I've only ever trained with my dad. I'm not a coach." "You don't need to be a coach. Just a guide." The words lingered. That Friday, flyers appeared on the bulletin board. The Warrior Circle, strength, control, discipline, Wednesdays and Fridays in the old gym, led by Logan Pierce. At first, just a few showed up. Madison, of course. A sophomore named Riley, who had been quiet for months. A junior named Devon, who once broke down crying after being shoved into a locker. They stretched, they practiced stance and breath. Logan didn't bark commands. He moved slowly, demonstrated, talked about restraint, about fear, about using strength without becoming the thing you fear. Tyler showed up the third week. Didn't speak, just watched. Eventually mimicked the movements. Jared came a week after that, holding a camera. "I won't train," he said, "but I'll record if you want." Logan nodded. Even Coach Daniels dropped by sometimes, watching from the corner with quiet pride. Blake didn't come. Not at first. But one chilly morning a month later, Logan was refilling his water bottle near the outdoor fountains when he heard someone clear their throat behind him. Blake, standing awkwardly, hands shoved in his hoodie pockets. "Hey," he muttered. Logan turned, guarded but calm. "Hey," Blake rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I've been thinking about everything, and I wanted to say I'm sorry." The words felt foreign in Blake's mouth, like trying on clothes that didn't quite fit yet, but they were real. "For the things I said, the things I did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it." Logan stared at him for a long moment. Blake didn't look away. And then Logan extended his hand. "We all screw up. What matters is what we do after." Blake shook his hand, a little too tightly, but it was a start. They didn't become friends overnight, but a door had opened, and neither slammed it shut. By the end of the semester, the Warrior Circle had grown to nearly 20 members. The atmosphere was never loud, never flashy. Just students breathing together, pushing themselves, learning that strength isn't in fists or fury, it's in choosing not to use them. One evening, after another quiet session in the gym, Coach Daniels clapped Logan on the back. "When you came here," he said, "you were just another quiet kid trying not to be noticed." Logan zipped up his duffel bag and smiled. "I thought that's all I was. But it turns out," the coach said, "sometimes the quiet ones have the most to teach." Logan nodded. "My dad used to tell me, a true warrior never needs to prove who he is. He just knows." And that night, walking home under the dusky orange sky, Logan Pierce understood something deeply. He no longer needed to hide, no longer needed to shrink. He had never thrown a punch in rage, but he had stood his ground. He had drawn a line, and in doing so, he hadn't just changed his story. He had helped change the stories of others. Because the greatest power isn't in winning a fight. It's in knowing when not to start one. And sometimes the kid they think is weakest ends up showing everyone what strength really is.